Varda Tirosh, Chief Customer Officer at Optimove.
I manage a large group, which we call the customer organization, which includes customer success, delivery. This is the team responsible for technical onboarding and implementation, and business services. Optimove operates in the marketing technology space. We're a customer data platform, and we help companies grow their business through their existing clients by leveraging their data. It's a sophisticated platform which sits at the heart of the marketing operation. Our customer portfolio varies from mid-market all the way to large enterprise clients. And as such, our customer model is high touch. Onboarding can take between weeks to months, depend on the complexity, on the size of the clients, and other meaningful factors. The customer success team is 30 people, size of about 30 people, operates from Tel Aviv, London, and New York. Our team is measured on logo and dollar retention. This is not a commercial team. The commercial side of renewals and upsells is managed by the account management team that sits within the sales department. So people might ask, why do we have this kind of a business model? Why is it that commercials are led by a more commercial team? So very early stages, we thought that it makes sense to separate between commercial discussions and customer success. We thought back then that this is the way to go. And for two reasons, we went with this model. We didn't want our customers to constantly feel that someone is trying to sell them. We didn't want our customers to feel that the people that work with them on a day-to-day basis have an ulterior motive. And this is why this is basically the whole commercial side is managed by the account management team. They work very closely with our customer success team, and this is working pretty well for us. The other reason is because we thought that it's really hard to find people that are really good salespeople and good customer success managers at the same time. It's a complete different focus. And we think that, selling is a profession, and this is the focus of those people, and this is how it should be. Our customer success manager's profile is very diverse. We don't insist on specific background or a specific experience. We look for people that has the potential, talented people that are smart and motivated. We hire pretty young talent, people that are relatively junior and inexperienced, and we're growing them within Optimove. I started my way in Optimove as a marketing data analyst, and as such, I have a great passion for data, and it's always been the case. This is why I'm here today to talk about customer success and data. More specifically, how can data and automation can drive CS also in the early days. Mature customer success organizations, they either built or bought solutions that will base a lot of the CS practices on data. But what happened in the early days when there's low budget, low resources, how can you do some of it? And I'm going to touch upon this really soon. Just to give you a little bit understanding of how the maturity curve of data-driven customer success organization look like, let's look at this. What are the different steps that an organization will go through in terms of being data-driven? So at the beginning, when you barely have data or you're not really doing anything with data, you're only reactive, okay? Then the next step is gaining insights from the data. Once you can see the data, you can understand different aspects of it, you gain data insights. Then you move to actions. How can I act upon the data and the insights that I was seeing? And the last phase is the outcome. When you take actions, you'll see those outcomes and it will impact your customer success and your company. So the first part is being only reactive before you collect the data. Now let's really start to talk about how are we building the foundation of data. And the first, something that starts with every company, they get the first new clients, they need to start collecting the CRM data of those clients. CRM data can be anything from contract details, any information you have about the company, etc. And from my experience, people start with, pulling this information into Excel. Gradually, they start to move to different type of CRM systems, anywhere from HubSpot, Salesforce, or others. That's the basics of the basics, and it's basically just to make sure that you keep track on who your clients are, what are the different properties of their account, their contract, and that's the very basic. The next step is a very, very significant and valuable step in collecting data, and it should be very easy to do early days when you don't have much money or resources, and that's product analytics. Every company needs product analytics. If they have a product platform, they need to have product analytics, and this is an initiative that can be driven either by CS or the product team. And it can be very, very valuable, and I show you exactly what can you gain from having any platform like Pendo or WalkMe that will do product analytics for you. Those platforms over time became smarter and smarter, and it's like killing a few birds with one stone. So first of all, it's a shared resource with product. So shared budget, shared resource for implementation, and both teams can benefit significantly from having this. Now, what can CS gain from having this kind of a platform? So the first thing is the product usage. They can tell very clearly logins, how many times the customer has entered the product, what pages did they visit, what features did they use or didn't use. A lot of very valuable information, initial information that can give me a good understanding of what my customers are doing. This will allow me to be proactive. This will allow me to give focused recommendations and not just work with guesses of what they're doing and not going. The second thing is client engagement. All those platforms like WalkMe and Pendo, they have the guides. They have the ability to put like pop-ups on the screen and have guides that will help the users get to know the product better. So this is like a byproduct of using product analytics. So it's not just about getting the data and knowing what they're doing, but action upon it. Put guides out there, put pop-ups that will allow them to do better work with the platform, to know the different features and capabilities, and to us to communicate with our users within the platform. And the last thing that is something that recently was added by most of the product analytics companies surveys, so NPS is the most common one of them, and you can start collect reviews by using this platform. So bringing in one platform, one product that can be leveraged by both CS and product, you can gain a lot of things that are the first step of becoming a customer success, a data-driven customer success team. Now that you have CRM data, product analytics, surveys, it's time to start visualizing and centralizing this data. And a lot of companies, no matter if they have a CS solution or any other CRM platform, they would need a BI tool for the benefit of the entire organization, right? So keep in mind that what I'm showing you right now will always be joint resource with other team members, with other teams in the company, and CS can gain from it as well. So either Looker, Power BI, Tableau, those are known products that are out there that you can bring in-house and very easily take the data that you already started accumulating and centralize and visualize for the benefit of everyone. For me, very early stages, I had a vision that my customer success team are going into some kind of a dashboard, and in a glance, they can understand the health of the customer. In a glance, they can see whatever the client is doing, how well they're doing, what they're using, what they're not using. And in like 2 minutes of reviewing this dashboard, they can come to meetings so much prepared with so much insights and relevant recommendations. All right? So that's the next phase in building your data foundation. Visualize it and centralize it. Then we can start taking this more and more steps forward. All right? It can be a gradual process. It doesn't all have to happen in one day, but this is where you can aspire to get to. Going backwards, talk about the maturity curve. So we started with being only reactive, and then we're moving to insights because we build the data foundation. We have some data points coming in, maybe not all of them, but some of them. And now we're able to gain insights from the data. The next phase is to move to action. How can we use this data and action upon it? Now, I want to talk about what this data can do to the CSM team. and to the client. And I want to start by touching different points of how to empower your team to leverage data. It's not trivial. Not every team comes with data acumen. Not every CS team has the understanding of why and how to use data. And here are a couple of steps that you can take to help them do so. So first, you need to make the data accessible and centralized. So if it's hard work for them to get to data, then it's worthless. But if they can get to it in a very nice, appealing, convenient dashboard, that will be great, because then there are no excuses why not to use the data. So the first thing, make sure all the data is in one place and is accessible. The second thing, it's really, really important to create common definitions across the different teams, because I've seen many organizations that different KPIs have different meanings, different data have different meanings, and you don't want to be at that point. You want all the organization to have single source of truth, everyone's speaking the same language, and therefore you must make definitions that everyone aware of and everyone are using the same definitions. The third thing, focus meeting around data, and I'm talking about internal meetings. If CS managers will come to one-on-one meetings with CSM when discussing clients, will open those dashboards, will look at data together, this will be a great way to train the team on using data, to train the team on how to look at data and what kind of conclusions can be drawn from looking at the data. So this would be like my number one recommendation, focus meetings around data. Number 4, build work routine around data. All right, it's really, really important. So what can you do to make the CS use data on a day-to-day basis? Are there any specific work routine that requires going to those dashboards, that requires going into this data? And you can use this again with number 2, with like going over it in meetings. And we'll talk about signals in a second, using signals that are based on data, and this is turning everything into becoming more actionable. Teach and evangelize data competency, invest in training. So as I mentioned, not everyone are coming with data acumen, not all of them understand data and know how to look at it, interpret it. So it's important to give them the tools to do so. It's not a rocket science, it's simple data sets. It's not very easy to look at them and conclude from them, especially when it comes to product analytics and product usage. Shouldn't be too difficult for the team to use this data, but make sure that you train them on data. They will like it, they will feel empowered. And that leads me to the next slide to talk about how can we empower our clients with data. What can our clients benefit from us leveraging data? So, obviously data makes the dialogue very much more intelligent and informed. All right, so it's not a guess game. I see the data, I know exactly what the client is doing or not doing, what they're using, what they're not leveraging. This is a way to bring value to them. This is exactly what CS is here for, to increase the value from the product. And by visualizing, being access to the data, of seeing what they're doing and not doing, this is the best way to bring value to the client. The recommendations become so much more relevant and focused based on the data, just like I mentioned. And the last point, it can bring added value to the client, from the product, different findings, and things that will allow the customers, bottom line, get more data, get more value from the product. Okay? So no more guess game, no more gut feeling, facts. Okay? All are based on the data that the CS has access to. Now I want to talk about automations, and this is the action part. How am I taking the data now that I have access to it and I have insights from it and turn it into actions? And one thing that you can do here is basically to build signals or early warning signs that are based on data. All right, so we did it like in stages. You start with 1 or 2 signals that are letting you know that, for example, the customer didn't log into the platform for the next 2 weeks, for the next month. How can you do that? You have access to this data. You took a product analytics platform. You have all the logins there. You have all the page visits, so you know when the customer is not logging into the platform. This is a very proactive step on your behalf to know that, have an automatic signal that lets you know that a customer didn't log into the platform, and act upon it. Send an email, try to bring them to a meeting, understand why is this happening. All right, so this is just one very basic, simple, but very valuable example of how you can action upon this data. Have an automatic signal go to the CSM letting them know that the user or the company did not log into the platform recently. This is very powerful. Make sure that you communicate with the customers in a way that is effective and is based on what you know and don't know, and you can really quickly take action upon things that you set as triggers. Now I want to talk about resources. How can you get the necessary resources to build this kind of a solution that includes dashboard, include automatic signals, etc.? And it might seem too much for a really new organization that has just like 2 CSMs. Who's going to do this work? So first I want to remind you a couple of things. It can be gradual. It doesn't have to be all in one day, all at once being created. So that's the first thing. Layer by layer. One data piece by data piece. So a gradual work will help you get to what you want. The second thing is that most of the things that I've showed you, most of the things that I mentioned, those are shared resources with other departments in the company. So this will allow you also to justify the cost and show that the value that you're going to gain from those, it's not value that is only for CS, but for other departments and for the company as a whole. So we mentioned the BI tools. This is something that the whole company will be utilizing for different departments, for different purposes, and above all for management. Product analytics, something that no product team will be able to grow and change the product and evolve the product without. So this is something that is a must, and both teams can greatly benefit from using this kind of platform. Support ticket, at some point you're going to need this anyway. CS should have very clear visibility to those support tickets that are coming in. CRM platform, after a while you can't just manage things in Excel, and the sales team anyway would need a CRM platform to manage all the prospects and then later on clients' information. What you do need is, in order to build those dashboards and to build those signals, you might need, either R&D or BI analyst or CS ops. Different companies will manage it through different people, but it can be just a part-time student that you hire and will do those things for you, just like we did, and eventually it all evolves to customer success ops. Okay, but early days, you don't need much resources in order to get to everything that I showed you. And remember, work gradually. The outcomes will follow. That's it. I hope you enjoyed it, you benefit from it, and use data. It will make your CS just an amazing organization with all the benefits that we've discussed.